Let's begin with a hook strong enough to hold even the most skeptical historian. When we think about historical mysteries, we tend to assume the unknown belongs to lost civilizations or ancient deserts. But some of the most baffling disappearances didn't happen to peasants, wanderers, or anonymous travelers. They happened to emperors, explorers, prophets, military strategists, and cultural icons whose every move should have been documented. Yet they walked off the edge of the historical record as if a page had been ripped out of time. The strange part is that each disappearance reveals something deeper about the era, the power structures involved, and the fragility of even the most famous lives. If you stay with me for the next few minutes, you'll see exactly why these vanishings continue to frustrate academics, inspire researchers, and fuel debates among survivalists who study human behavior under extreme pressure. Now, let's get straight into it. The disappearance of Amelia Earhart is always the starting point, not because she was the first to vanish, but because her case represents the collision between ambition, geopolitics, and experimental aviation. You had a pioneering aviator pushing the geopolitical boundaries of the Pacific at a time when Japanese military expansion was actively suppressing foreign reconnaissance. Whether she crashed, landed elsewhere, or was captured, the lesson for survivalists is simple. Every frontier has invisible lines, and crossing them without redundancy, planning turns risk into inevitability. Modern explorers still study her navigation logs to understand risk layering. Next is Ambrose Bierce, the American writer who walked into the Mexican Revolution in 1913 and never returned. Historians view his disappearance as an example of how documentation collapses during wartime. Competing factions, incomplete field reports, and shifting territories make final answers impossible. When teaching methodology, I sometimes tell students that Bierce's case is the perfect illustration of why wartime accounts cannot be treated as single-source truth. Then we have Roman Emperor Nero, who allegedly committed suicide, yet multiple sources imply he may have escaped east. Several impostors appeared in later decades, claiming to be the emperor. The persistence of these impostors tells us something important. Political identity in the ancient world wasn't proven by documents but by performance. It's a reminder to historians that written records can be politically motivated objects, sometimes more propaganda than truth. Another case is Roald Amundsen, the legendary polar explorer who vanished in 1928 during a rescue mission. Arctic disappearances often stem from the environment's ability to erase physical evidence within hours. It's a perfect reminder for modern survivalists that extreme climates are not merely dangerous, but archaeologically hostile, meaning even a significant figure can vanish without leaving a trace. The disappearance of Solomon Northup, author of 12 Years a Slave, remains unsettling because, well, he survived enslavement but not freedom. He reappears in the record after his lectures, then, just dissolves. His life shows how vulnerable even a well-known figure could be in a society where documentation depended on completely decentralized local systems. When researching 19th-century America, this case teaches students to treat archival gaps as structural, not accidental. Then there is Harold Holt, the Australian Prime Minister who vanished while swimming in 1967. While often joked about, the case underscores the political vulnerability of leaders outside institutional settings. You know, governments rely heavily on controlled environments to maintain continuity. When a head of state steps outside that environment, even just a simple natural risk can, well, escalate into a constitutional crisis. The disappearance of Percy Fawcett during his Amazon expedition has, honestly, been over-romanticised. But really, the true lesson here is about the friction between scientific ambition and indigenous sovereignty. His disappearance most likely involved misunderstanding local boundaries. For survivalists, the Fawcett case is an excellent study on the consequences of cultural misreading. The Princes in the Tower remain, honestly, the most political disappearance in English history. Their vanishing, well, it shows how power transitions often erase inconvenient figures. When studying monarchy, this case really teaches us that the absence of evidence is, quite often, intentional. Michael Rockefeller's disappearance in New Guinea, you see, reveals another pattern: the danger of outsiders overestimating their ability to navigate local conflict dynamics. His case remains a core example in anthropology courses. Rabbi Solomon Molcho, Zhang Qian and Agatha Christie each disappeared under radically different conditions: spiritual exile, diplomatic espionage and psychological crisis. But they all highlight the same historical truth. Every disappearance reflects the pressures of its era. Before I wrap up, here's how to apply what you've learned. When studying any historical disappearance, treat it like a layered investigation. Start with political context, then logistical feasibility, then surviving documentation, and finally cultural interpretation. This method prevents myth from outweighing evidence. If you want more deep, documented history brought back to life, subscribe to History Reborn Alive, share this video, and help expand our community of serious researchers.